In the magnificent tapestry of Greek mythology, Apollo stands out as one of the most revered and complex gods. While often described as the god of the sun in modern interpretations, his importance in ancient times extends far beyond this singular role. Apollo embodies the duality of existence. He is both a bringer of light and a harbinger of destruction, a source of healing and a spreader of disease, a protector of the arts and a powerful warrior. His influence envelops various aspects of ancient Greek culture, making him a figure of profound significance. So what truly defines this complex and famous god? As you explore the story of Apollo, you will discover not only his divine heritage, but also how he impacted the world around him. Apollo is the child of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Leto, a titaness. His birth is filled with drama and symbolism due to the jealousy of Zeus's wife, Hera. When Hera, the queen of the gods, learned that the goddess Leto was expecting a child from her husband Zeus, she was furious. Hera was enraged, not only because of Zeus's infidelity, but also because she had heard whispers that Leto's son would be loved by Zeus even more than her own son, Ares. Determined to make Leto suffer, Hera forbade every land from offering her shelter. Desperate and exhausted, Leto wandered from city to city, island to island, in the hope of finding a place to give birth to her twins. But every city and island she approached turned her away, all fearing Hera's wrath. Just as all hope seemed lost, Leto finally saw an island floating in the sea, Delos. It appeared to be her last chance. Delos, an island not anchored to either land or sea, was a drifting refuge beyond the reach of Hera's curse, as it was considered neither land nor sea. When Leto reached Delos, the island hesitated too. It feared Apollo would indeed grow to be a powerful god who might one day abandon it. But Leto made a sacred vow. If Delos provided her shelter, her son Apollo would honor this island above all others. Comforted by this promise, Delos allowed her to rest under a sturdy palm tree to prepare for the birth. Yet Hera's schemes continued. She kept the goddess of childbirth, Eileithyia, away from Delos, preventing Leto from giving birth. Unable to bear witnessing Leto's suffering any longer, the other goddesses sent the messenger goddess Iris to bring Eileithyia, offering her a magnificent necklace. Finally, Eileithyia arrived on Delos, and Leto's labor began. After 9 long days and nights of painful labor, Leto finally gave birth. Clinging to the palm tree in her exhaustion, she first delivered Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and wilderness, followed by her twin brother Apollo, the god of light, music, and prophecy. With her dark hair and pale complexion, Artemis was as serene as the moon, while Apollo, with his golden curls and radiant presence, symbolized the brilliance of the sun. The other goddesses immediately bathed him, dressed him in white, and adorned him with golden bands. Apollo was no ordinary infant. After tasting nectar and ambrosia, the food of the gods, he broke free from his bindings and declared his destiny. He would be the god of the lyre, archery, and prophecy, tasked with revealing the will of his father Zeus to humanity. After bringing Apollo and his twin sister Artemis into the world, Delos became a sacred place, blessed by the arrival of the twin gods. From the moment Apollo set foot on the island, he brought prosperity to Delos. The island gleamed with gold, and swans circled it 7 times, foreshadowing that Apollo would one day play a lyre with 7 strings. The news of the twins' birth spread to Olympus, enraging Hera once more. She released the monstrous serpent Python to pursue the newborns and end their lives before their powers fully developed. Still weak and carrying her babies, Leto was forced to flee once again. When she stopped to drink water from a small lagoon, a group of villagers mocked her suffering, stirring the water to make it muddy and preventing her from drinking. Angered, Leto cursed them, and they were transformed into croaking frogs, doomed to dwell forever by the muddy waters. As the twins grew, they began to display their divine powers, and Zeus gifted each of them a bow made by Hephaestus himself. Artemis readily embraced hers, becoming a skilled huntress and protector of the wild. However, Apollo had a different mission. He was determined to avenge his mother and eliminate the threat of Python once and for all. Seeing his son's resolve, Zeus revealed the location of Python's lair on Mount Parnassus. Guided by Zeus, Apollo found the serpent's den beneath the soaring cliffs of Parnassus. As Apollo approached, Python lunged out from the shadows, its scales glimmering, its fangs dripping with poison. With his bow and arrows in hand, Apollo confronted the massive serpent, drawing it out of its cave. Python lunged, displaying its venomous fangs, but Apollo's aim was true. After a fierce struggle, he shot 3 swift arrows at Python, one to its eye, one to its heart, and the final blow to its mouth. The monster fell lifeless at Apollo's feet. After achieving a great victory by killing the fearsome serpent Python, the god Apollo decided to establish a sacred oracle here to share his triumph with mortals. In the heart of Greece, at the foot of Mount Parnassus, Delphi became a sacred meeting point for mortals seeking guidance from Apollo. Delphi was regarded by the ancient Greeks as the center of the world, a place where wise individuals came to find truths about their destinies. In this oracle, Pythia, Apollo's priestess, sat upon a tripod situated above a deep chasm in the earth. Inhaling the mysterious vapors rising from the depths, she would enter a trance state, articulating Apollo's prophecies in this mystical condition. Although Pythia's words were often ambiguous and symbolic, they held great significance for mortals. Kings, warriors, and common folk flocked here to seek Apollo's wisdom. An army commander wanting to know the outcome of a war, or a young person wishing to learn their fate, would come to Delphi with equal reverence, listening to Pythia's words. Apollo's sacred prophecies had become a trusted source of wisdom throughout Greece. Over time, Delphi became recognized as the most esteemed oracle in the Greek world, symbolizing the god's guidance filled with light and knowledge. To honor his victory, Apollo established the Pythian Games, held every 4 years. This athletic and musical festival attracted participants from across the Greek world, celebrating physical prowess and artistic achievement, reinforcing Apollo's connection with both body and spirit. Apollo's identity encompasses many areas, including music, poetry, art, healing, archery, and prophecy. He is celebrated as the god of the lyre. He plays the musical instrument flawlessly. His musical talent is legendary. He played not only for the gods, but also for humans, inspiring poets and musicians alike. The lyre crafted by Hermes symbolizes harmony and order, believed to possess the power to soothe even the most troubled souls with its melodies. However, Apollo's abilities are not limited to music. He is also a skilled archer, wielding a silver bow that can shoot arrows of light. His arrows are symbols of both destruction and healing. They vanquish the wicked while providing comfort to the afflicted. This duality makes him a figure of paradox, embodying the balance between life and death. As the god of the arts, Apollo has inspired countless literary and artistic works. In ancient sculptures and paintings, he is often depicted as a strikingly beautiful young figure, characterized by flowing hair, a laurel wreath, and his trustworthy lyre. The laurel tree, considered sacred to Apollo, became a symbol of victory and success, further strengthening his connection to achievements in both art and athletics. Apollo's fondness for nature has not been confined to the artistic realm. He has been associated with various creatures, particularly wolves, which symbolize his protective and nurturing qualities. According to some myths, he traveled with a pack of wolves, embodying the balance between civilization and the wild. Throughout mythology, Apollo exhibits a range of personalities and traits. Although often depicted as a benevolent god, he can also possess a vengeful side. For instance, those who disrespect his temples or mock his gifts would face his wrath. He would send plagues to cities and punish those who failed to honor him. This complexity adds depth to his character, making him a figure through which people experience both light and darkness in their own lives. Apollo's relationships with mortals also vary widely. He is often portrayed as a romantic figure, pursuing many lovers, both mortal and divine. After his victory over Python, Apollo proudly and radiantly roamed the world, carrying his bow, which symbolized his power. While carrying his bow, he encountered the young god Eros, better known as Cupid, who was practicing with his own bow and arrows. Feeling superior, Apollo taunted the god of love. "You, a child, are using a bow? Leave such weapons to the gods who slay monsters like me. Love is nothing next to hunting," he said. Eros, despite his youth, was not someone to be mocked. Angrily, he shot 2 arrows, a golden arrow that pierced Apollo's heart, filling him with overwhelming love, and a lead arrow that struck Daphne, a beautiful nymph Apollo had just seen, causing him to hate her. The moment Apollo looked at Daphne, he was enchanted. Overflowing with desire, Apollo approached Daphne, but she, terrified, fled. Desperately trying to win her heart, he chased after her, calling out, "Why are you running? I am Apollo, the god of light and music, the son of Zeus." But Daphne's fear only grew. Daphne, who was devoted solely to the wild and indifferent to Apollo's love, ran deeper into the forest. She ran with all her strength, praying for deliverance, until she breathlessly and hopelessly begged her father, the river god Peneus, to save her. Peneus did not remain indifferent to his daughter's pleas. Just as Apollo reached out to catch her, he transformed her into a laurel tree. Though heartbroken, Apollo placed his hand on the tree's bark and whispered, "You may not be mine, but you will remain precious to me." He declared the laurel tree sacred, a symbol of victory and honor. From that day forward, he wore a crown of laurel leaves and carried Daphne's memory as his eternal companion. Among Apollo's friends was a young man known for his beauty and athleticism, Hyacinthus. Apollo enjoyed Hyacinthus's company, spending hours playing games and engaging in sports together. However, their friendship incited jealousy in Zephyrus, the god of the west wind, who admired Hyacinthus from afar. One day, while Apollo and Hyacinthus were competing in a discus-throwing contest, Apollo threw the discus high and far. Hyacinthus ran to catch it, but a sudden gust from Zephyrus altered its direction, causing it to strike Hyacinthus in the head. Apollo rushed to his side, trying to heal him, but it was too late. Hyacinthus was dying. As Apollo held his friend's lifeless body, he wept. In his grief, Hyacinthus's spilled blood caused a flower to bloom, a dark purple flower with petals shaped like the Greek letters spelling alas. Apollo named the flower Hyacinth in honor of his friend, ensuring that Hyacinthus's memory would live on through the annual Hyacinthia festival, where mortals honored the beloved youth. Pan, the god of the wild and shepherds, was so confident in his abilities that he claimed his music was superior even to that of Apollo, the god of art and beauty. The one who fueled Pan's bold challenge was his friend King Midas. Encouraged by Midas, Pan agreed to enter this contest of skill. Eventually, Pan and Apollo faced off under the judgment of Tmolus, the god of the mountains. Pan began to play a melody that was simple yet deeply emotional. The tunes rising from his flute reflected the purity of rural life, and Midas was enchanted by this music. Then it was Apollo's turn. As Apollo struck the strings of his lyre, the notes filled the air. They were so elegant and captivating that they deeply affected the souls of the listeners. Tmolus unhesitatingly declared Apollo the winner. However, Midas angrily protested the decision, claiming that Pan's music was more beautiful. Apollo lost patience with Midas's stubbornness and poor taste in music. To teach Midas a lesson, he transformed his ears into those of a donkey. This transformation would mock Midas's foolishness, symbolizing his lack of an unbiased aesthetic understanding. From that day forward, Midas concealed his ears with a headpiece to hide his shame. Yet it was too intriguing to be kept as a real secret. One day, a barber learned of this secret, and whispers began to spread from ear to ear about the outcome of the contest between Pan and Apollo. Marsyas, a satyr renowned for his talent, stumbled upon a magical flute abandoned by Athena. With this flute, he further honed his skills, gaining so much confidence that he claimed his music was equal to that of Apollo, one of the most graceful of the gods. When these arrogant words of Marsyas reached Apollo's ears, the god found himself both astonished and angered by this bold claim. He invited Marsyas to a music contest that would determine his fate. The winner would be allowed to do whatever they wished to the loser. It was a dark wager. The contest, held under the judgment of the Muses, began with Marsyas pouring out enchanting melodies from his flute. The tunes he played resonated between gods and mortals. They were so captivating that for a moment, Marsyas's victory seemed certain. However, when it was Apollo's turn, as soon as the god touched the strings of his lyre, the atmosphere instantly filled with a sacred aura. The melodies created by Apollo's lyre deeply moved all who listened, touching their souls. Ultimately, the Muses declared Apollo the victor. Bound by their agreement, Marsyas awaited Apollo's ruthless punishment in fear. Apollo decided to teach this brave yet arrogant musician an unforgettable lesson. Tying Marsyas to a tree, he flayed him alive. The satyr's blood began to flow into the ground, giving birth to a new river, the Marsyas River. This river flowed for centuries, symbolizing Marsyas's pride in Apollo's victory over art. Hermes was the god of shepherds, travelers, merchants, and all those who lived by their wits. In fact, as soon as he was born, he woke up in the night and pranked Apollo. Hermes went up to Apollo's pasture, where he kept his cows and stole 50 of his best cows. To make sure that Apollo would not be able to retrace the cows' steps, Hermes tied brooms to each of the cows' tails so that they would erase their own tracks. He then hid the stolen cows and sacrificed 2 of them to the gods. With the remains of the sacrificed cows, he made 7 strings and attached them to a tortoise shell, thus creating the first lyre. He then tiptoed back into his crib. However, as all of us know, he couldn't fool his mother, Maya, into believing he had slept soundly throughout the whole night. To avoid his mother's questions, he got out his lyre and played her to sleep. The morning after, Apollo stormed into the cave where Hermes lay in his basket pretending to sleep. Hermes couldn't fool Apollo this time. An oracle told Apollo that Hermes was the one behind the theft of the cows. Apollo dragged the baby to Zeus on Olympus to seek justice. Zeus listened carefully and made Hermes reveal where he had hidden the cows. Hermes brought Apollo to his hiding place, and Apollo forgave him as soon as he got there. Apollo was angered again once he noticed that 2 cows were missing. Hermes was not surprised by this and quickly pulled out his lyre to play an enchanting tune. At that point, Apollo was so completely blown away by this melodious music and instrument that he offered his whole herd in exchange for this new instrument. Hermes agreed to this exchange, only if Apollo would trade his magic as well, and so he did. From that moment on, the 2 brothers were best friends. Zeus was so glad of his son's wit that he gave Hermes a golden hat with wings, a pair of winged sandals, and a cape under which he could hide his magic tricks. That is why Hermes is always represented with these elements, as shown in the picture above. Cassandra, daughter of King Priam and Queen Hecuba of Troy, was renowned for her beauty. Having experienced the horrors of war, she had lost her brother Hector and many close relatives. Her greatest desire was to know the future and to become a priestess. Apollo was captivated by Cassandra's beauty and promised her the ability to see the future. However, to gain this ability, Cassandra had to be with him. Eager to know the future, Cassandra accepted the offer. Apollo granted her this gift, but when Cassandra chose to reject him and opted to remain a virgin priestess, he became enraged and cursed her. She would indeed see the future, but no one would believe her. Moreover, as a woman, she would be humiliated and would never become a priestess. Cassandra suffered greatly because her prophecies were never taken seriously. Despite foreseeing the outcome of the Trojan War, she could not convince anyone and had to watch helplessly as the war began and unfolded. Shortly after the Trojan War, she was raped by a Greek soldier named Ajax at the Temple of Athena. Later, she was taken as a war captive to Sparta, where she was killed by Agamemnon's jealous wife, Clytemnestra. Apollo's legacy continues in modern culture, symbolizing enlightenment, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge. His influence can be seen not only in literature, music, and art, but also in contemporary depictions of gods and goddesses. The values he represents, balance, harmony, and the quest for truth, remain relevant in today's world. As we explore the many facets of Apollo, we encounter a god that embodies the complexities of life, a paradoxical deity representing both the light of reason and the darkness of vengeance, the beauty of art and the chaos of existence. His story invites us to reflect on our own journeys and reminds us of the enduring power of creativity in the pursuit of wisdom and understanding.